Hey babes, I'm Cynthia.
And I'm Beverly. Grab your favorite drink. Let's sip and chat.
Welcome to Tipsy and Truthful, the podcast.
Period. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Tipsy and Truthful. This is the podcast where two best friends sip and chat about life, relationships, parenthood, and everything in between. I'm Beverly, one of your hosts.
And I'm Cynthia.
And today, we started like the first episode. We talked about how we have been on this journey of like trying to find ourselves pretty much. And we've been doing this podcast as a hobby, for fun. And that we've read a lot and heard a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
I wanted to, I guess, just talk about what started all of this, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to say it's been maybe 2 or 3 years that we've been really like trying to dig
3
deep.
years.
3 years, right?
Yeah.
Trying to dig deep and, learn things about ourselves and unlearn things about ourselves too.
Yeah.
And how that really started, like dig deeper into that. As we have talked about it, Cynthia and I, we realized that it pretty much came from the same place. I'm going to be 100% transparent, and it's a little uncomfortable to admit.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
It's a little uncomfortable.
It's not only that it's uncomfortable, it's sensitive.
Yeah.
Because we were getting kind of, not emotional, but like, reliving a lot of these things and pinpointing where these things come from and stem from hasn't been easy. And let me just clarify that everybody goes through these situations. I think finding a community that feels the same way and where you feel supported, I think is what's important.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So honestly, it's a little uncomfortable for me because I'm not just talking about things that have affected me. To be 100% honest, my boyfriend and I were not in the best place a few years ago. And I remember this one time we had a very huge fight. We both said mean things to each other. And out of desperation, like, I feel like I'm just the Google queen. I freaking Google everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember being so upset and feeling misunderstood. And tell me how I freaking Googled. What did I Google? At that moment, I felt like I wasn't heard and I wasn't being prioritized. So I literally Googled, why won't my boyfriend make me a priority? Something up to that effect, okay? As stupid as it sounds, in that moment, that Google search was just like
opening a can of worms.
Yes, that's what ended up happening. But the initial intention behind me doing the Google search was maybe just to vent through my fingertips.
Yeah.
I don't even freaking know. It makes no sense. It made sense for me at that moment, okay? And when I was going through these things, I was probably like teary-eyed and super frustrated. And I remember coming upon this lady's website, okay? This lady's website, she had a book, which I was not trying to pay for, so...
But we read it.
We read it afterwards, but in that moment, I was like, I'm not paying for no stupid book. Yeah. But she also had a podcast. And as you guys know, I love hearing podcasts. So out of curiosity, I just clicked and I listened to a couple of episodes. And although I won't name that podcast because honestly, I think that podcast for opening my eyes to maybe a new way of looking at things.
Situations.
But a lot of the things a lot of her core beliefs I don't agree with. So like
now I don't. But back then I was
point,
like, I knew it.
I was like, like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now everything makes sense. After a further research and more
self-discovery,
I think that podcast was enough for me to open my mind into looking further in. And the biggest thing that I learned was that every time I was at a disagreement, every time we were unhappy, in my head, I was doing everything right and he was the problem. Okay? I'm perfect. I'm never wrong.
Pillar of perfection.
I'm never wrong. Okay? You are the problem. So fix it so that we can be happy. I never said the words, but I think that deep down, that's how I was feeling.
Yeah.
Okay? because of this like rabbit hole that I went down, I discovered a couple things.
Can I just stop you 1 second, babe?
Of course.
And I just want to say that this discovery really started, now that I'm thinking about it, during the pandemic, right before, a little bit before the pandemic. But I feel like the pandemic, like for a lot of people, intensified a lot of feelings, a lot of things that you have to deal with, because now you have nothing to do. The world is completely shut down, and we had to face a lot of these things. And maybe a lot of people can resonate with that. Like, you were forced to face. Maybe you weren't. Maybe you did other things to not have to face those things. But for us,
when we were quarantined, we were quarantined. Like we didn't even see each other.
Yeah, which was hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like we were stuck seeing each other's face all day, every day, dealing with problems that maybe in the past
you didn't have time to deal with.
Not only that, if you were annoyed, like, okay, well, I'm going to the store. Bye.
Yeah,
I'm going to my favorite place, Target. I'm going to Target. Like, I'm not dealing with this right now. Or his favorite place is the gym. Like,
Yeah.
I'm talking too much. All right. Well, I'll be back. Go to the gym and let off some steam. Being forced to face it
Yeah.
was huge. You know, I tell John, and he thinks otherwise, but I tell him that I'm so thankful that the pandemic happened and the quarantine happened, because I don't know
let's
where we
rephrase
would
that.
be.
Yes.
No, in our relationship, it was a blessing. Not for the world.
No, for the world. I was gonna say, like,
Jesus, no.
No. Yeah.
In our relationship,
Yeah.
being forced
I think for families.
to buckle down,
Yeah.
it helped our relationship. It helped my relationship with my daughters. It brought us closer together. And anyway, and going back to, I can't concentrate with Jonah screaming. Can you hear him?
No, that's why I'm like, I could hear him. That's why I'm like trying to concentrate.
Yeah, my son is screaming. That's fun. I don't remember what I was saying, babe.
No, you were forced to, face these things because before you had other outlets. You would go to Target, you would go to the gym. But you saying that the pandemic, you were thankful for that because it forced you guys to buckle down and really work on your relationship with not only each other, but like with the girls and as parents, as,
It did. It forced us to make time.
Yeah.
All we had was time.
All we had was
didn't
time.
go anywhere. We even went on family walks around the block with masks on, of course. But because they told us we couldn't even breathe outside without a mask. Like, we had never done that. Can you believe that? We've been together for 10 years, and that was the first time that we went on a family walk for fresh air.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Who would make time for that before? Like, that's nuts. Anyway, circling back. I'm not even drunk yet. Jesus.
Oh, we said in the last episode that when we start drinking,
My tongue is heavy.
and my brain malfunctions. So I say words that don't even exist, and then I look back. I was like, "What the frick was I saying?" Anyways, just
Part of it. So yeah. One of the biggest things that I realized was that I was part of the problem. I'm not going to sit here and say that I was the bad guy. I feel like realizing that both of us had faults and both of us had room to improve was big. Because again, at the end of the day, even though I never said it directly, I only saw all the ways that he was failing, and I never saw where I was failing.
And I'm just gonna slip in there that a lot of these things happen because you have to understand, for the most part, I'm not gonna speak for everybody in the world, but for the most part, we are raised in like survival mode with our parents. Our parents are surviving. We don't get the skills, we don't get the tools that we need in order to deal with conflict, deal with disagreement, deal with feeling like communication in most cases, because there's just so many other things that take the front seat that you don't have the time. So we grow up thinking that yelling at each other and calling each other culito verde is the way to go.
Right?
And
that's what you do when you're mad.
Exactly.
Culito
because
verde.
Yeah, exactly. Duh. But when you realize that is not giving you, at the end of the day, you feel worse about yourself, about your relationship, where you stand. You're like, at some point, for a lot of people, at least for us, we're like, okay, where can we need to make a shift here.
Yeah.
Like, there's something wrong. I'm not the wrong one. He's wrong. But then you start digging deeper and you're like, oh, like you're saying,
yeah,
I am part of this bigger issue,
One of the places where I noticed I needed to improve is I was being super controlling. And not even in the obvious, like, no, you can't go there, you can't do that. I wasn't like that. He wouldn't even, that's not his vibe. So it wouldn't work in our relationship. I was controlling in ways that were more subtle, like thinking that I had to remind him to do everything. I thought I was being helpful. Okay. Don't forget to call your mom. It's her birthday. Hey, did you check that tire? I feel like every micromanaging every little thing in our lives where I'm just like, no, I'm being a good girlfriend. Like, I'm just reminding him of,
I'm helpful.
Yeah. And in the back of my head, what was really happening was two things. I was like, well, it's because I'm smarter, obviously, so I know everything. So listen to me. Wrong. I'm just being controlling because deep down, what I have is a wound of thinking that I need to be there for everyone because no one's ever going to be there for me.
And I think even deeper than that, you just feel like nobody's going to do it to your standards.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you want people to help you, but you don't trust the way they do things. So you have to, tell them how things need to be done. And at the end of the day, if somebody's helping you with something, even though it's not the way that you're doing it, but it has the same end result, what does it matter? The process might look different, but at the end of the day, you still get what you need. You still get what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, do you guys realize that, like, loading the dishwasher or folding laundry, if you feel the need to tell your children, your spouse or whatever, maybe your children because you're still training them, like in the beginning, but if you feel the need to tell a grown-ass person, like, actually, when you fold the laundry, you should fold the X, Y, and Z because that's the way I like it. What if the end result is we need to get the laundry folded? Why does it have to be exactly to your precise instruction? Like, why are we focusing on that? That's controlling, even though we don't see that as controlling. The second thing that I noticed is that I was constantly being triggered. I was constantly being triggered and I was unaware of it. And what happens when you're triggered and you don't recognize it is your triggers are driving you everywhere. And you're just a passenger.
You have no control.
You're being triggered. You're reacting out of being triggered and you're not even paying no mind to it. You're not actually sitting down and being like, okay, this happened. How does that make me feel? What's the best response? No, it's a reaction.
Yep. And let me just say, everyone has triggers.
Yes.
And even though in mainstream, the word is used very lightly, and there's actual, like, there is a diagnosis, like, for people that have PTSD where, like, they've been through very traumatic experiences. Triggers are even worse in that situation because there's a medical diagnosis of things that actually could set a person, like, off, and put them in a very dark, very unsafe place. When we talk about triggers, even though these experiences have marked us in some way and they are traumatic, I don't want to take away that they weren't traumatic to us because everybody has their own experience.
Right.
We're talking about growing up. A lot of these things come from our childhood.
Yes.
And they have, without you even knowing it, in your subconscious, you have all this wiring that's going on that you don't realize. Like, a smell can trigger you.
Yeah, it can bring you. See, the thing with triggers is that it
brings you back to that specific moment.
It's basically a need that was not met.
Yes. A mechanism.
And what happens is, I'm trying to think of an example. You start crying, right? Because you hurt your knee. And your mom, instead of your mom or your dad, let's say your dad, because I feel like it's more common. Your dad, instead of telling you, oh, it's okay, are you hurt? It's okay. Instead of reassuring you, instead of nurturing you, instead of making you feel safe, what they do is to tell you to stop crying. It's not a big deal.
They invalidate you.
So what happens automatically if this happens, it won't happen with one time. No, but if repeatedly every time you are crying out for help, you're being shut down, what you're going to associate is that, okay, so every time I'm hurt and I need something, that's not valid.
Yeah.
That's not valid. I shouldn't even say nothing.
Yeah.
I should stop crying.
Yeah.
That's a trigger.
Yeah.
Even though, when we think of triggers, we think of something bigger.
No. But there's things that could trigger you.
There's things that are like everyday things that we wouldn't even think like, oh, wait.
Because they, at some point in our lives, have marked or wired themselves to protect us from hurt, from pain, from feeling unsafe. That's just your mind and your body's way of like protecting you. Like, ooh, you know, we didn't get the reaction that we needed, so we're going to do this instead to protect you. Now, if this happens constantly, like we were saying, now every time a certain situation similar to that happens, this trigger comes into play where you maybe won't talk about it. You keep it to yourself. You try to self-soothe yourself.
You bottle it in.
You bottle it in, and that's not healthy.
Instead of, if you recognize, okay, this is triggering me to shut down. So I'm just going to take a break, and then I'm going to voice my opinion. Like, hey,
to myself.
This hurt. What would be my next step? Should I talk to the person who hurt me? Should I speak to a therapist? Should I write in my journal? Should I don't know, whatever. What ends up happening when we don't find healthy ways to deal with it is we get triggered and we go to something unhealthy.
Very.
Some people go to binge eating. Some people go to drinking. Some people just get depressed. Some people go
gambling. Or just so many things. Like there's not one thing that one person does. Like it just depends on the person and what they need in order to cope with all these situations, you know? But something that I wanted to say is that even though these triggers could put you in a very bad place, it's important to know that you don't have to stay there forever. Like there's strategies that you can use in order to rewire that thinking of, I feel unsafe, I need to like shut down and not say anything. You know what I'm saying? But that is where the real work is, because it's not as easy as saying I'm triggered. What do we do now? Like, you know what I'm saying? No. Because that's the problem is when you're triggered and you don't have any other way to like think of how to rethink that situation or how those feelings, then it becomes like a vicious cycle for the rest of your life. I think it's like a loop. You never get out of it.
Yes.
You know?
I feel like recognizing these triggers is hard. And if you don't already have
So one article that I found that was very interesting is that you have to be triggered in order to know and be aware that what things trigger you. If you are never triggered, you can never work on what that feeling is and what situations trigger that feeling. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Sometimes we're triggered. We don't know we're triggered. In order to start understanding where our triggers come from, you kind of have to trigger yourself. Have to put yourself in kind of situations where you're triggered so that you're like, wait a minute. Okay,
so you can
wait.
Work through it.
Exactly. Wait. This situation triggers me and be aware of it, because most of the time we're triggered and you have no idea that you're being triggered.
Because you just go to an automatic response.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's so automatic. It's so second nature that you don't even realize it. The moment you start doing work where you're like, wait, and this is how we discovered all these things about ourselves. And you guys are going to hear us talk a lot about this because once again, sorry. Once again, like this has been like in the making for a long time. Like just things that we're like so awed by. Yeah. Like finding things that we're like, what? Are you kidding me?
Did you know that, babe? Did we FaceTime each other? Babe, did you hear about this?
Yeah. And we're sending each other like these articles from these doctors because I am very traditional in a lot of things, but I understand that science has its place in the world.
Yes.
And understanding, especially our mind, and I feel like we will never get to a full understanding of what our mind is capable of, the things that it's capable of doing. But just the little bit that we have right now, I think blows my mind to know how powerful our mind is at storing information to protect us, but also undoing a lot of that so that we can thrive and grow in the world. You know what I'm saying?
I wanted to go into a segment. Let's unpack.
Yeah. And
again, it's like a little uncomfortable because we're getting really real here. But babe, if you can maybe pick one or two things that you know trigger you that you're working through now.
So, I mean, I have a list of triggers.
I think all of us do, whether we recognize them or not.
We do.
We all definitely do.
And I'm going to bring this back to the first episode where we talked about chancletazo culture and all that stuff, because that has a lot to do with us, like me as a person. I'm going to speak for myself. Me as a person today has a lot to do with my upbringing, obviously, like most of us. But I've come to realize, and once again, I'm going to just say, I have love for my parents. I have grace for my parents, and I have grace for myself to understand that they didn't understand all the things that we are learning right now. Where we're taking the time to teach ourselves so that we don't repeat these patterns in ourselves, in our children, in our families, in our communities, in friendships, in every aspect of our lives, right? But for me, I know that, and I'm laughing. That's one of my coping strategies. When I'm nervous or I'm uncomfortable, I laugh. So if you ever see me. But being yelled at for me puts me in a very negative headspace. I can't tolerate being yelled at. I shut down.
It's one of your senses. We didn't mention that, but you're triggered usually by one of the five senses: sight, smell, touch, taste, or hear. So for you, it's when you hear that specific volume of voice and the tone, it brings you back. What does it bring you back to?
It brings me back to my childhood. Because unfortunately, in my household, it was very volatile. Like my parents, they just didn't have the tools. Yeah. And they argued so much. They tried not to. They really tried not to. But sometimes when you can't self-regulate your emotions, because you don't know how to, you don't even realize that. How can you control yourself when you feel all that exploding? It just comes out. Yeah. Because you don't have the tools. Yeah. You know? So for me, like I just have a lot of instances in my mind where I could just hear yelling. And I would just go to my room because I needed to block out that yelling, and I would just cry.
Oh, babe.
I really would cry a lot. And write in a diary that I still have to this day. And in that diary...
That is so cute.
No, for real. It's one of those things where it brings me back.
You're going to make me cry, babe.
I'm sorry. But... so in that diary, there's like parts where like you can't even read some of it because there's tears.
Oh, stop
You
it.
know, for real. There's tears because, you know, like a diary. I was like maybe 9-10 years old. And I literally have the dates. Like,
That's
I remember,
really healthy, actually.
Yeah, 2001, because I didn't have anybody else I wasn't going to tell my little sister who didn't understand it. My parents were in their own situation. And I had nobody at that moment. Yeah. You have nobody else to feel safe to. And I remember that I got that diary because I begged for that diary from Deb.
Our store back in the day, let me tell you.
DEB, Deb.
That was our store.
I would go to the little miscellaneous accessory section, and I just wanted every fucking journal with every little fluffy pen. And it's purple. Because purple used to be my favorite color, with a little mirror, and it had a little fluffy pen. And I still have that diary.
You fancy.
I was fancy, but I begged for that. I was like, I need this diary. My mom was like, una macota pa qué? I was like, I need it.
You don't get it, Mom.
Yeah, I need it right now. But, you know, in that diary, it holds a lot. And if I go back to it, I could close my eyes and I could see like my room exactly the way it was. Like how I was sitting when I was writing and all the background noise. Wow. So for me, yelling is very triggering. I don't like being yelled at. And the interesting part is that even though I don't like it, I'm a yeller. But once again, that's all I knew.
That you are what you learn.
Yes.
You have to unlearn it now.
And so now I catch myself and I'm like, ooh, sorry. And I have to apologize. Yeah. I'm like, my voice was loud. And I could see, like when you see somebody's face reacting to the way that you're reacting, or you're acting, it's even more triggering for me because I'm like, I'm hurting you.
The way that
I'm causing you pain the same way that I was caused pain.
That's deep.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to do that. But sometimes when you're in that moment, you're so in that moment that you don't realize these things.
Emotions are heavy, babe.
And not only that they're heavy, but like, I'm going to bring it back and say, once again, we were never taught the tools to self-regulate, to self-soothe in the appropriate manner.
I don't know about you, but for me, it was like, it's not okay to be upset.
Oh, no. Tú estás bien. But that's a form of invalidation.
Oh, you're crying?
Yeah.
I'll give you a reason to cry.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah. Like, I would never say that to my kid now. It's funny because I hear myself and I'm such a gentle parent for a lot of things that it's kind of embarrassing. Not that it's embarrassing, but what I'm saying is like, of other people hearing me, they're like, ¿Y tú crees que eso va a funcionar? I'm like, for me, for the things that I've learned, the journey that I've been on, the things that I've experienced in my life, I can't be a catalyst for my child to feel what I've ever felt.
Yeah.
You know?
Good for you, babe.
And don't start crying because I already see your eyes getting glossy. Because,
I'm a crier. I'm a
No,
softie.
I am a crier. But like, it's just so, when you start, peeling back the layers. Wow, my words are flowing today. And it's because I haven't had that much wine today. But I feel like when you start peeling back the layers and you realize like, we're just all wounded children.
For real.
That are trying to heal from things that, unfortunately, our parents didn't know, understand, comprehend.
Yeah.
And once again, I want to give my parents grace.
They didn't have Google, though. We have Google.
And not only Google, but they didn't have the... Honestly, I'm going to be so real. The education also...
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be honest. Think about third world countries for the most part. How do they value mental health?
Eso pa loco.
Está loco.
Literally.
I'm like, yo, that child is clinically depressed. That child may have autism.
You know what?
That child may have some other form that you don't understand and you don't know how to handle, so you automatically label that child está loco.
Problemático. Es malcriado.
Es que no es malcriado, no entiende, pero ¿cómo va a entender? The way that you're communicating to that child, how is that child supposed to receive it? Listen, when anybody, child, adult, doesn't matter. When you feel unsafe, when you're in an altered state, there's no way. And I gave you this example earlier. So, once again, I work with special education with children that are in the spectrum. And something that my BCBA said once that has stuck with me, that literally like I think about all the time when I'm telling a child, why don't you get it? Or even when I'm telling my own child, ¿cómo tú no entiendes? Listen, and I'm going to break it down as simple as I can. You could motivate a child. I'm going to give you $500. Can you speak Chinese? Can you speak Mandarin? Can you speak French?
If you told Liana, she's going to try.
But it doesn't matter. You can tell anybody.
Money.
$500 on the line, you're going to try your best.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to do it?
¿Y cómo?
You don't have the tools. You don't have the skill. You don't have the skill to be able to speak a language that you just don't know. As much as you try, how are you supposed to access that? You can't.
Not without the tools, right?
You don't have the skill.
You need...
So when a parent is like, para de llorar, how am I supposed to stop crying when you didn't teach me to feel safe in a space where I'm like, I understand that you feel a certain way, X, Y, and Z, but I need you to take a deep breath because everything is going to be okay. Instead of saying, cállate, está bueno, ¿tú quieres que te dé? Like making a child even more
upset. Have you seen that video, babe? It must be maybe 2, 3, or the max 3-year-old.
What?
A little boy crying, right? And his dad posts this video like as a proud moment
of him telling us to be quiet.
Stop crying.
Oh,
and the little boy like chokes on his tears,
Mm-hmm.
puts a bobo in his mouth, and stops crying. But you can see his body
tense up.
And instead of and the thing that I saw, the biggest thing that I saw in this is that instead of reaching for their father, the person who's supposed to protect and love them forever, they reach for a bobo.
That's their
coping mechanism. That's gonna switch. Let me tell you, when they outgrow that bobo, that's gonna be something else.
Yeah,
it's gonna
worse.
be a girlfriend, whether she's a healthy or unhealthy for him. It's gonna be a substance that's not good for you. It's gonna be eating. It's gonna be locking yourself and isolating yourself. Is that what we want? And the dad is posting this proud moment. You see, he stopped crying because he's a big boy. No, papa.
That's another thing. And this is kind of like societal when it comes to men can't feel certain emotions. As humans,
boys don't cry. I hate that.
But they teach humans in general, it's not okay to like, you fell, you're fine. That's a form of an invalidation. Because yes, I want you to understand that you're fine, but I also want to acknowledge that you fell.
And that it hurts.
And I'm sorry that you hurt yourself. But you're going to be okay.
It's something so simple, babe.
Example, today, my son, fashionista in the making, was fighting with me about the clothes he was wearing. I'm like, Papi, we're just going to Nina's house to record a podcast. You are not going to be on camera, so it doesn't matter what you're wearing. And he was like, you don't understand. I want to wear this. And I'm like, listen, I understand that you want to look nice, but you don't need to. And I understand that it's frustrating, but you can wear that tomorrow. Nothing else was said, and he started putting on what he has on. That was it.
He's wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt and some Crocs because he's at his godmother's house. He's about to go lay down with the girls on his iPad.
He's probably laying down right now. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it was just that simple. Like, saying, listen, I get it.
I understand.
You're frustrated. Mm-hmm. But you could wear that tomorrow. Today, I need you to wear something comfortable. Because we're just going to go to Nina's house. Mm-hmm. And he didn't say anything else. He didn't rebuttal. He didn't say nothing. He put on his sweats. He put on his sweater. He said, Mommy, I'm ready.
You know what I love hearing every night when we're FaceTiming?
Yeah.
The back and forth, what do you call it? The negotiation for bedtime.
Yeah.
Because this is what he does. He's the cutest child on the planet. I can hear Cynthia say, okay, Cairo, it's time for bed. 5 more minutes. No, she says, okay, Cairo, it's time for bed. Go brush your teeth. And he says, no, Mommy, can I have 5 more minutes? And my best friend goes, okay, 5 more minutes. Not even a minute and a half later, he comes back. Okay, my 5 minutes up so I can go to bed. Like, he's at that point, he's just trying to be like, okay, we are both flexible here, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he's just trying to prove that point, but he really wants to go to bed.
Yeah, he doesn't. And 2 seconds later, he's sleeping. He's like literally sleeping.
And instead of making that a big fight,
I don't know. Hell no.
A big fight. No, fighting. I said go to bed.
No.
It's like, okay, 5 more minutes, but then when the 5 minutes are up, we're going to bed, right?
He goes to bed. He doesn't even rebuttal.
It doesn't have to be an argument.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Skills, baby. Yeah. Skills.
Yeah, but I want to just say that didn't come
overnight.
No, this has been. You said a little bit about where you started your journey, and we started around the same time. So let me unpack a little bit of where for me it started, and I'll never forget it. But similar to my bestie here, the pandemic brought a lot of feelings, a lot of very strong, undealt with feelings. And I was in a very, very dark place. Very dark, guys. And I just one day broke down and I called Beverly, and I remember crying hysterically. Like, just like he pee. I was like, like couldn't breathe, panic, full on panic attack. And I was like, babe, I need help. Yeah. Because I'm losing my shit. Now, what was it? It was just a combination of so many things. Like my marriage, being a mom, working from home, like education from home, that was brand new.
Not only education from home with children with special needs.
It was like, whatever. How am I supposed to teach them? My hand is so hands-on.
Babe.
My job is so hands-on. I was like, I can't do that on the computer.
I understand.
Coming up with like lesson plans, like for math for a child that needs. Listen,
babe. As a mom, my son, my 5-year-old, he was diagnosed with autism. Okay, during that same time, you were on that side of the camera. Yep, you were on the other side. Zoom. I was on my side of the Zoom camera. My son being in preschool. Getting not only his preschool, his circle time where he's never been to school before. Circle time, trying to learn the alphabet, trying to learn how to respond to his name, okay? These basic tasks that he was trying to learn and getting his ABA therapy via Zoom. I remember giving up one time. It was learning how, I think it was like learning how to do a command or something. And I was like, Jace, do this. And it was like an action figure, jump, jump. We had Captain America. I'll never forget. I was so frustrated. Yeah. Because not only am I helping my 2 daughters in middle school with math that I've never seen. They switched the math. Huh?
They were in elementary.
No, they...
The pandemic?
4th and 5th grade.
That's not middle school.
5th grade is middle school.
I thought 6th grade was middle school. It's 6th grade.
Help me out here.
It's 6th grade. 6th grade?
Not here, not in Haverhill. Grade 5 and above is a whole separate
That's
school.
Crazy.
That's how it was in Methuen when I grew up. Kindergarten to 4th grade. Now we're going to have a whole discussion.
For me, so wait. Because let me bring it back. For me, where I work right now, middle school is 6th grade and beyond. Lawrence.
Until before high school?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So like 6th, 7th, and 8th
Okay.
is middle school. Where I went to school, 6th, 7th, and 8th was middle school.
Okay, here, and in Methuen, kindergarten through 4th is elementary school.
Which is crazy.
And then you switch schools. 5th through 8th is middle school, and then high school is beyond.
Who cares?
Doesn't matter.
Those are stupid.
Matter. The
Stupid
point is
little-
that the math wasn't mathing, okay? I was trying to help Aliyah with her math, and I'm good at math. But this math was foreign. I was like, why did they do
It's
this?
not. I want to just
What?
bring up. It's not that it's foreign.
It's foreign. I don't give a shit.
Listen, I have to take. So in where I work, once again, I'm in elementary. My kids are in 5th grade. My caseload. So I literally have to. Today, actually, I had a training with Dr. I'm not gonna say her name. She's amazing. She's just one of those people that loves math. But we have units where they reframed all of math.
So the math
The way that we
is
learned math is completely different, because the thing is that the way we learn math is you do it this way and they don't give you an explanation this way. The way they're learning math now is like, okay, the reason we do these things is because X, Y, and Z. And they try to have the kids, the language is completely different. One.
God damn, you scared me.
that was just like our executive producer.
God.
But not only is the language very heavy, it's like, sometimes I have to read a problem 2 times. I'm like, ¿y cómo yo le voy a explicar esto a este muchacho?
Sí, no lo entiendo.
Because I have to modify this for my child to understand.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, how am I going to break this down so they understand? But for the most part, most of my kids are able to do it, but then they have like freakouts. They're like, what the fuck am I reading? But math now is more, do you see the patterns?
Okay.
Do you see, math is algorithm. It's not just, like there's patterns in everything we do. If you can see those patterns, you can take this math and you can apply it to every aspect of your life.
That's actually pretty cool.
It is when you learn it like that. But guess what? I have to be trained because the way I know math in my brain, which wasn't good to start with.
It was never your strongest.
It's still not my strong suit. But like learning that the way that I learned math and doing math now this way and having to, the point is that it's hard. So I get where you're coming
The
from.
point is, as a millennial who learned how to do long division the regular way,
Yeah. And they get
now
to
they
that.
do it backwards.
No,
I'm like,
but
what?
this is the thing.
They don't even look the same.
Okay, but it's because they break it down to. At the end of the day, what they want the kids to learn, and it's funny because she told me this today. What they want the kids to learn is that if you learn all these ways, you find what works best for you.
Mm-hmm.
But we want you to have all the tools, all these different skill sets, so that you can apply them and use whatever works for you.
And that makes sense.
Yeah. But before us, it was like, even if it don't work for you, this is the way we're doing it.
Exactly. So before,
Yeah.
I was just naturally good at math.
Yes,
So the
thankfully.
way that they just
I
taught me,
struggled all my life.
the way that they just taught me, it just clicked, right?
Yeah, not for me.
They didn't teach me all these extra ways. And now that I'm looking at them, I'm like, okay, this is another language.
You know what's the worst part? That
Call your
if parents
teacher.
were in the classroom when they're teaching these new skills or this new, I don't know, way of doing math, you would get it. And I bet you'll be like, are you serious? Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but no thanks. I'm good.
It's actually very interesting because I'm just like, whoa. I would have never, first of all, where I work, these kids are brilliant. The other day they were talking about interest rates and politics. They're in 5th grade.
Reel it back in, babe. Let's get off the math subject.
No, but I'm just saying, like, dang, it's crazy. Their understanding is ridiculous compared to me in 5th grade. Never. But the
I
whole
don't
point-
remember.
I don't remember a lot of math, and that's why they have that show. Are you smarter than a 5th grader? I get it now, because math is fucking hard. Science is hard. Everything is hard. The point is, where was I going with that?
I don't know. We were talking about triggers. We ended up math, so I don't know.
The wine is kicking in.
We ended up we started in like Europe. We ended up in I don't know, Australia. All right. Triggers. My turn, and I'm not gonna cry.
Oh, because I was just saying that my triggers are being screamed at. Yeah, and certain smells could bring me back to very dark places.
It could be as simple as, and this is like gonna sound stupid, but everybody has like a story about a drink. Like, oh no, I will never drink that again because I remember this one time I threw up so much. And, like even
Jack
that, you smell. Okay, so what happens when you smell
all my
Jack
friends,
Daniels?
Ashley, Marielle, you guys remember this night in college The next day I had a business calc test, and that whole ride to the damn campus, that every little bump I was like, huh? And it was because we weren't 21, and when you're not 21, right? You have to get whoever's selling whatever in the dorm. That's what you got.
That's what you're gonna drink.
And that night we happened to get fucking Jack Daniels. I still go to a liquor store right now and I look at it and I immediately gag.
That's what I'm saying.
Disgusting.
You wouldn't even think of that as a trigger, but even the smell of Jack Daniels brings you back to that.
Forget about the smell. I haven't smelled it since then, but just looking at it, it brings me back to that horrible place.
The hangover.
Oh my God. I'll never forget it. It was so bad. Trying to concentrate when you're hungover. Oh, God. Trying not to throw up. Horrible.
I couldn't imagine. Never been there. So yeah, my turn to unpack.
Yeah.
One of the triggers that I know I've been working through is, so when I was a teenager, my mom kicked me out a couple times.
Oh, you're gonna bring it there?
I brought it there.
Oh no.
I'm not like resentful towards my mom. Again, I know that she did what she thought was necessary. Yeah. And she was doing, again, the best that she could with the tools that she had.
Yeah, with her understanding.
But I know that although back then I was just sad and I was confused, I didn't really fully take into account how traumatic it was for me. Mm-hmm. How me getting kicked out programmed my brain to tell myself, you can't count on anybody. You are not worthy. You are not enough. These are the thoughts that were going on underneath in my mind. Mm-hmm. And I said I wasn't going to cry.
I'm really trying not to cry because this was a very hard time in your life.
It was hard.
And it was every of these moments, it hurts me because I've experienced these things through her, and
it was hard.
Not that it was hard, but like feeling like you were helpless too, because what was I supposed to do?
I know.
And that is another weight that you carry when you see someone you care about, you love so much, going through a situation that you feel so helpless about. Mm-hmm. God dang it, we're really gonna do like this sucks.
This is that episode for the tears. We said we might cry.
I said I wasn't gonna cry, but fuck. Damn.
Well, I was noticing that I was bringing these triggers into my relationships with my romantic relationship, my friendships.
Can I just say, babe, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yes, babe.
Do you, now, from what it sounds like abandonment issues, right?
100%.
Do you think that it starts at your core as a child?
Rephrase your question. What?
As a child.
Do I think abandonment issues started? Yeah. Definitely. Mm-hmm. It could, listen, and for me, because when I was a baby, I don't remember, but it could stem from.
Before you even say that, because you said because you don't remember. Interesting fact. Your mind, your conscious mind might not, or your subconscious mind might not remember a lot of these traumatic events. But I want you guys to really think about this, because I heard this and I was like taken back a little bit. Mm-hmm. Your body is the same body you've had your whole life.
What?
Your body, this body that you have, this one, even though it has grown, it has experienced.
That's a fact, though.
Everything that you have, and has more recollection than your actual conscious memory does.
That's crazy.
So think about, sometimes your body feels things that you don't understand why they come, why they happen, and it's because you felt them as a child. And your body registered them as once again, a coping mechanism to protect you. But you don't really have a memory of why these feelings are there. Like, why does my body tense up or do that every time blank things happen?
For me?
Yeah.
And
I just wanted to,
No, that brings me back to the what I was saying. Mm-hmm. So this, being 17, 18, getting kicked out of my house multiple times, right? I registered these. Okay, so that means I can't count on anybody, right? That means I'm not worthy of being in a safe home, right? And now I'm bringing into my relationship this trauma, and I'm not even realizing it until I'm noticing that if my boyfriend and I are arguing and he walks away from the room, triggering. I'm feeling abandoned right now because we're having a conversation. We're not done the conversation. And even though he's not kicking me out of my home, my body is tensing up. I'm feeling nauseous. My heart is racing. I'm having a hard time catching my breath. And it brings me right back to being 17 and not knowing what, and being outside of my house with my bags, calling my then boyfriend, who I now realize was a coping mechanism. Right?
That's why you were so attached.
I was so attached to him because at a time when I felt like I had no one,
He was there.
I latched on to him, and I was super unhealthy.
Yeah.
Super unhealthy. But all I knew at the time, and all these feelings that I have when something as simple as we're having an argument and you need your space and you walk to the other room, which is valid, right? You don't have to sit here and if you need a moment, and I need a moment, that's okay. Yeah. But for me, it's bringing me back to
he's leaving.
Nobody. It brings me back. Your mind goes back to these things. I am not worthy. I can't count on anybody. You know what I mean?
I can't trust anybody.
I can't trust anybody. These are the minds. These are the things that our mind is telling us. And let me just tell you, our minds are trying to work with us, not against us. Mm-hmm. However, our brains have been programmed. Our brains are that, what is it called? The amygdala? Oh. That's the next thing.
Oh, yeah.
Our brain is there's a part of our brain that is very primitive. Okay? The prefrontal cortex, is that what it's called?
At this point,
I think.
You would have asked me 20 minutes ago, I would have got
before this half a glass of wine, maybe I remember the words. I think that's what it is. If that's not it, sorry, guys. There's a part of your brain that is like where all your rational, intelligent thoughts reside. Amygdala? No, that's the opposite.
Okay, yes.
Your prefrontal cortex, I think,
You're right.
is where you process all of your emotions rationally, where you can say, okay, well, my boyfriend's walking, excuse me.
Chicken salad.
My boyfriend's walking to the other room because he needs a break because this conversation is very intense for him as much as it is for me, right? But your prefrontal your amygdala, and
that's where it is.
Your amygdala.
So tiny little bean.
It's an almond size. I think there's two. If I remember the picture from Google, right?
That was one, but I could be wrong because the wine.
I don't care. Your amygdala, whatever it looks like.
You Google it.
You do the research. Your amygdala is going to hijack your brain, and all of these rational thoughts that you know to be true get blocked out. Okay?
You go into fight or flight.
And your amygdala, which is programmed to help you scan your room for anything unsafe, it's going to take you to thoughts that are going to help make you protect yourself. Mm-hmm. It's going to tell you,
but it's not really protecting you.
You're in danger. Yeah. Okay, remember, if he's doing that, it's because he thinks you're not worthy. Remember, if he's walking away from you, he doesn't love you. Mm-hmm. And
I'm fidgety. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
God dang it.
And this brings me to, I think I have a No Way Rosé for you guys. Yeah. I didn't cry, babe. My eyes got watery, but I didn't cry, and I'm very proud of myself for that.
Same.
Cause I don't just cry, I ugly cry. I know it's okay to cry, guys.
And not only that, but I just want to say this is where the channel is just a little bit of everything. Last week, you guys were not last week, the week before. You guys were cracking up with the bodega stories, but this week we reeled it back in, and because we're just everything, I think, and I think it's okay to be very we're funny. Because let me just say, comedian. But we're also very serious, especially about bringing awareness to our community, to people that may have never thought of things this way. Mm-hmm. I think that's the most important thing to us at the end of the day.
I feel like for me, this is like a diary. Like this is a video diary that I'm going to look back on. And I'm going to see where I've been, the thought processes that I'm going through now. And I'm going to look back and hopefully see a lot of growth.
I mean, all we can hope for is to grow. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all we want. I mean, that's what I want.
Yes. Okay, so the No Way Rosé of today is a term that's called the amygdala hijack. Okay? So if you've never heard of this, the amygdala is a part in our brain that detects when we may be in harm's way. It sends out a distress signal to our nervous system, which gets activated, and stress hormones get released. It puts our body on high alert. Okay. Now remember, this was very important to us back in the caveman days because there was animals that could get,
you had to be in high alert.
It was very much for your safety that this was in our brain.
Yeah.
Now in 2022, almost 2023, it's less necessary, but it's still there. And your body doesn't know that a dinosaur is not going to come out and bite your butt.
Dinosaurs. There's no dinosaurs.
I don't know. I couldn't think of anything else. A yak? Help me out, babe. A buffalo?
A mammoth?
A mammoth?
Yeah.
Really?
You never say, I ain't say.
Jessica's like, I don't fucking know.
A mammoth is like a prehistoric elephant.
Oh, the mamu, like the candy?
Mamu.
Is that the actual animal?
Mamu. Wait a minute.
Wait. No, fuera de coro. Is that the real?
A mammoth.
Mamu. That's what the candy is called. Mamu.
I wasn't thinking about candy.
Wow. The no way rosé of the day is a mammoth. It is a mamu. Is it mammoth?
Something so dirty, guys.
What the? Wait, don't even tell me what you were thinking.
Okay, I'm not going to say it, but I was like, what do you mean? Wait a minute. That's where the term comes from. I was so confused. The chocolate?
The chocolate from DR.
I know, but like, I'm mind blown right now.
Well, it has a mammoth in the front, so it
I
makes
never
sense.
registered those two things.
Me neither. I thought it was just like an animal that they chose. Like,
fucking mammoth.
Like it could have been a turkey for all I knew. I thought it was the name of the candy. Bro. I can't.
A fucking turkey.
Anyway, back to the No Way Rosé. We got super sidetracked. Where was I? Okay, so the amygdala sends signals to our body to get us to go to fight, flight, or freeze response. Okay, and when this happens, our mind is gonna scan the room for whatever it thinks is important for our safety. Okay, which is why when you focus, okay, let me give this example. Let's say you want to buy a white Jeep, right? When you want to buy a white Jeep,
any car,
just giving a white Jeep as an example. If you want to buy a white Jeep and you're driving down the street, all of a sudden, every other car you see is a white Jeep.
That happens. Stuff that you never noticed before.
It's not because all of a sudden all the white Jeeps are parking in your street. No. Your brain is scanning your environment for the signals of what's important.
Yep.
This same thing happens in our relationships.
Yep.
If you tell yourself, my boyfriend is a liar, just an example.
He's a liar.
My boyfriend is not a liar.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Well, I'm not saying he's a liar. I'm just saying...
My boyfriend is a liar, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Guess what's going to happen? Your brain is going to scan your environment and it's going to look for lies and ignore truths. Okay? So if your boyfriend says one lie in the day, one little white lie about...
¿Tú sacaste la basura? Sí, yo la saqué.
About taking out the trash, you're going to focus on that one lie and you're going to forget that the entire other 23 and a half hours of the day, there was no lie in the room. If you tell your kid, you're so messy... Guess what's going to happen? Your brain is going to scan the environment and look for proof that your child is messy. You're going to see shoes by the entrance. You're going to see their toothpaste not inside of the little toothpaste holder in the bathroom.
Backpack everywhere.
You're going to see but you're not going to see that their bed is made. You're not going to see that they folded and put away their laundry. And this is a coping mechanism. This is like our brain trying to help us.
But it really doesn't.
No. Once we can
the intention is okay.
Bring it to the forefront.
Yeah.
Once you can bring it to the forefront and you can be like, okay, I got you, brain. I understand what you're trying to do, but like, we don't need it right now. It becomes easier. In my relationship, it helped me a lot because I was, again, going into that, I'm not worthy, and I was blaming him for that.
You know what's funny? When I went through my journey, because I didn't finish my unpacking.
Oh, yeah.
Because
we're all over the freaking place today.
I'm fine with that. Listen, it is what it is, and it is what it isn't.
We spent 40 minutes talking about math. It's your fault.
Okay, well, it was important. But when I called Beverly that day, what I was going to say is that, and I told you that I needed help. I called you, I called Shirley, and I just broke down. And I was like, I'm losing my marbles. I'm not happy. I feel stuck. I'm depressed. I feel horrible about myself, about what a horrible mom I am. I'm a horrible wife. I'm a horrible at everything. Like I was just so like negative, right? So that same week I decided, because I feel like everybody in the world was in the same place, my job decides to give us access to a therapist. And they were going to pay for a certain amount of sessions. And then if we wanted to continue, then we pay out of pocket. I was like, well, I have nothing else to do during the pandemic. I guess I'm going to see a therapist. I mean, best and worst thing that happened. Best because I feel like it was a step in the right direction to this world of self-discovery, self-healing, self-realization on so many aspects of my life that I've buried, didn't even realize were such a big part of why I am the way I am, but also giving me an outside look at, what you're telling me is X, Y, and Z. What I need you to understand is, that's not correct.
It's deeper than that.
It's way deeper than that, and you're like misinterpreting what's really happening. So you need to do these exercises. You need to do this. You need to figure this out. And in that journey, I really started digging deeper. And like, I feel like, of course, for me, that was the start, like therapy, and then talking to somebody, realizing I have a bunch of fucking issues. I am the problem.
Am I the drama?
Yeah, that's what for real though. And it was, that's hard. That's why I bring it back to that first episode. That's why I talk about it. Because like realizing that you are also part of the contributing problem to whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
Parenting, relationships, work, friendships, you carry just as much responsibility.
Yeah.
The way you react, the way you say things, the way everything. I had just as much fault as everyone else. And I was just pointing the finger, but I wasn't taking a look at myself and saying, you know what, Cynthia, you're psycho and you need help. And you need to really do the digging to figure out why you feel this certain way. Why do you feel like you like, why can't you, I don't know. There was so much digging, and I cried every session that I was like, I'm a fucking mess and I'm going to need 5 more sessions. So sign me up, But, at the end of the day, looking back at, if I could just go like this and look at the last 3 years, wow, I'm going to pat myself on the back.
I'll pat you too, babe.
Because it has been a very, very emotional journey. Like I cried a lot, but I've also realized so much about myself that I think I wouldn't have realized because of the pandemics, because we were forced to be in those situations, but because I realized that there was deeper issues that I had, that I needed help with.
Yeah.
And asking for help is so huge, guys, because we want to be, masters of everything. We want to be able to do everything ourselves, but we need help sometimes. And we need an out, somebody that doesn't know you, that has a different view of the situation. That's very helpful to find perspective.
And let me just say that during the pandemic, I also I think I used not having the time, which I learned. Not having enough time is a lie. We all have the same 24 hours. We prioritize what we think is important, okay? Yep. So me using I don't have the time as an excuse was not valid anymore, because I could sit in my couch in my PJs with my black robe on, and I could be in a session with a therapist. Because everything became through Zoom. That's how I did it too. During the pandemic, I also got a therapist. Yeah. Although I had a couple and I didn't find the right fit for me.
What did I tell you when I was looking for my therapist? What did I need?
You needed somebody to be culturally in the same page as you. Which makes sense. I didn't find that.
I need a Black or Hispanic person that understands my struggles. And that's not being, I'm not excluding everyone, but you have to understand, especially when you're going through therapy, for me, and this is just my point of view, I need someone that understands a lot of the nuances that come with our culture.
Yeah.
That understands a lot of our struggles, a lot of things that other cultures may not understand. And it was important for me to get to the bottom of whatever was making me feel a certain way. I was like, I need someone that understands.
Yeah.
That understands me, that has lived through some of these experiences, where we have some shared experiences, so they could give me an insight in a professional, obviously, setting, but also has like personal experiences with some of these situations.
I was never able to find a therapist that was in the right fit for me. But what I did find, and I continue to do now, is I have a coach. So I have a coach. It's actually I found this group through being. I already mentioned my son was diagnosed with autism.
Wait, didn't I send you her page originally, like with all the couponing, and then you dug deeper and found all the stuff that she was.
Yes. So her name is
great.
Tina. We started following her because of couponing. She has a child. You do?
Good, of course.
Good deals. She has a child who's also on the spectrum, and she started a group for the moms of children with special needs, and. If any of you other moms are there, any other moms and dads,
parents
of kids with special needs, go through challenges that are just difficult for people who are not in our position to fully understand. So I still have them. I have 2 coaching sessions a month, and basically it's just somebody looking at. Basically, you come to a session and you just say, "Hey, what's on your mind?" And I'm trying to think of what my last session is. Oh, my last session was, I'm just trying to organize my time. I just started this podcast and I feel like I have so much, and they make you dig deeper. At the end of our session, it came down to her making me recognize that me saying that I don't have enough time, and my excuse for that is that, well, that's just Beverly being Beverly. And she's like, well, what does that mean? Are you saying that because you're Beverly, you can't be organized? And she made me, number 1, bring that to the forefront. And number 2, recognize that was a lie. Beverly is organized. Beverly organizes a bunch of shit. So why am I telling myself, and why am I making my brain scan the environment for proof that I'm unorganized, that I have no time? I do. I make a lot of time for things that I find important.
But everybody does that. You prioritize.
Okay, but before this specific coaching session, I was beating myself up because I was not making time for other things. So if you have time, if you have the resources to get either a therapist or a coach or whatever works for you, that's huge, because having somebody from the outside
for sure
look at you and hear you, it just makes you point out things that you're in this loop of back and forth every day. You're in autopilot and you don't notice that you're telling yourself these mean things. You don't notice that you're being triggered. You don't notice how you can work through these triggers, and somebody from the outside looking in and helping you through it is huge.
The most important thing is the skills. Listen.
Yes, they teach you the skills.
You can't do anything if you don't have the skill set to put in place to get you out of this thing that we've been doing our whole life. So my not suggestion, but I think that even if you can't get a therapist right now, because I understand if you don't have insurance, therapy is expensive. I was lucky enough that I was able to start therapy because my job offered it. You know, they were like, everybody's going through a rough time. We want to help in any way we can. Everybody gets sessions, and if you want to continue, then you use your insurance and, you know, make the payments. But I think that even if you can't do that, thinking about things that make you feel uncomfortable, uneasy, that bring up negative thoughts in your life, in anything, and Google them.
Literally, that started my whole journey. Was
Google them. And also, there is a bunch of podcasts with doctors that are offering free services online.
Yep. There's podcasts.
You could literally look up what are my triggers. And let me tell you, 1,000 podcasts, 1,000 books, and 1,000 blogs are going to pop up to give you some sort of insight that you can start digging deeper and start to find clarifications of why do I feel this way? Why does my body feel like it's shaking out of control? Why can't I breathe? Why am I feeling like I'm dying? A literal panic attack.
You know what I told you earlier today? For the last couple of days, I feel like the last 2 days, I've been feeling nauseous. I've been feeling tense. I'm not pregnant. I've been feeling tense.
I think I know why.
Why? Why are you touching my shoulder?
I'm just touching you because I think I put my finger on it.
What? Christmas?
No.
That's why.
I don't think it's Christmas.
What do you think?
I think we've decided that this was going to be our topic maybe 3 days ago. And just for you, like for you, and for me, because when we're gonna start an episode, we don't say what we're gonna talk about. We just put bullet points like these are the things we're gonna concentrate on. Do what you gotta do, your due diligence, and bring it to the podcast. And we're literally having this conversation right now with you guys
for the first time. Yeah.
So I think for me, knowing that this was gonna be our topic, I was anxious this whole week because I'm like, I'm facing these things again, even though I've faced them multiple times in my life. In the last 3 years specifically, but I'm facing them again.
Oh my God.
You see? I should have been a therapist. I know, because I've been feeling the same way. So we're bringing them up again, and we're talking about them, and they're bringing up real emotions.
Yeah.
Especially because usually a lot of these things we talk to each other about. We are very like, I'm feeling this way, we're feeling this way, and like it's a safe space for both of us.
Yeah,
we feel safe because she
talk
knows
out loud to each other.
She knows that I'm gonna hear her out and I'm gonna validate her feelings, and also offer a lending. You know, don't cry, babe.
And I do the same. I'm not crying. I'm not crying. You're crying.
But you know, I think that for the last 3 days since we decided this was, and I told you, I'm like, babe, this is gonna be hard for me to talk about. Because
and I'm like, oh, I'll be fine. And here I am, nauseous, tense, shaking, can't breathe right for 2 whole days.
I should go back to school.
Bro, you definitely picked the wrong person. Let me tell you.
But I feel like for me, that's what the case was. I was like, we made this decision to make this a conversation because just life, things were happening that we were like, I was triggered because, and then we were like, wait a minute. That could be a topic.
Yeah.
Because other people probably feel this way, but for the last 3 days when we decided, no, this is going to be a topic, these are the things that we may or may not talk about. So do your research, do whatever you want to, figure out what you want to bring in and bring now.
Yeah.
It's literally been for me. I'm just like, I couldn't even sleep last night. Guys, this is a hobby, but at the same time, this is also part of our healing journey.
Yeah.
Like this has been therapy for us also to be even more honest than what we are, to talk about things that are uncomfortable. They hurt, you know, they're not easy to like, especially on camera. Like this is,
I know, like this is
crazy.
On YouTube, like anybody can.
But
see
you know
this.
what? I feel like this is just, it is what it is. And I feel like even if it helps one person, like start being like, oh my goodness, I felt a lot of these things, and maybe I need to do a little more research. My work is done for me. One, I did it for myself, and I feel like I've aired out even more grievances about myself. But at the same time, I feel like also I'm helping someone that has no idea that they have been going through these things and don't understand why they feel anxious and don't understand why their body tenses up and don't understand why certain situations they feel the way they feel. There is a reason, and you need to dig deep, and it's gonna hurt. It's like reopening a wound that you didn't even know you had.
Yeah.
And it's gonna suck. But let me tell you, like I was saying earlier, looking back 3 years to where I'm standing and sitting right now, I am extremely proud of myself, proud of both of us for doing a lot of this hurtful work, the work that we didn't think we needed, and for coming and for continuing this work, because this is a never ending, walk of like, healing things that were from our child. We are like just healing the child that needed to be healed now in our adulthood. So we don't repeat these patterns. I guess it's my nugget.
Okay. So I think she's filling into the nugget of the day.
Listen, we're flowing. I don't know.
We'll keep flowing into the nugget of the day.
We're healing the child that was never healed. We're listening to the child that was never heard. We're hugging the child that needed to be hugged. And that's it.
Okay, this was a heavier episode than I anticipated.
We didn't think it was going to be heavier.
My mind didn't anticipate it, but my body has been feeling it for 2 days.
Look at that. Your body knows before you.
And I'm like, wow, babe. Right before we started recording, I'm like, I've been feeling nauseous and like I can't catch my breath, and I'm like nervous. And she's like, and these two are like, you're pregnant again? I'm like, no. I'm freaking pregnant.
It's because she has 4 babies.
Yes, I'm fertile, Myrtle, but no, I'm not pregnant again.
No, but look.
My brain, my amygdala was saying, bitch, are you really going to go there again?
Yeah.
You don't like it there, remember?
Yeah.
God, I literally feel better already, and I was nauseous for 2 straight days.
You're welcome. It's going to be $500.
Mira, coño. Oh, all right, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for getting your eyes watering with us.
Yeah, for real. Well, I didn't think we were. I mean, I knew it was gonna be not easy to talk about, but dang.
No, babe. I was like, piece of cake. Yeah, wrong.
Yeah, wrong.
Right.
But honestly, it needed. I feel great.
I feel good.
Yeah,
I feel good.
So thank you guys for this episode. Even though it was a little heavy, we want to mention one. Thank you for the support. It's been amazing. The outpouring of love and support
so much.
has been amazing. We are on Facebook, Tipsy and Truthful Podcast. On Instagram, Tipsy and Truthful Podcast. On TikTok. Basically, our name is the same everywhere, is what I'm trying to say. On our Instagram, we also have a link tree where everything is linked. You could find our Facebook. You could find our Spotify. I think we're working on Apple.
No, we're already there.
Oh, we're on Apple.
Been on Apple iTunes.
It's been like a couple of days, but you know, it was a long process. But we're also on YouTube, obviously. So if you want to go there, we have a donation link, you know, because we're starting to grow our channel. So if you feel like if you want, also Dear Cynthia, where you can get to write to me for advice, for anything, even if you just need a listening ear and someone to just write back to you, I'm there. So make sure to go into our link tree and find that Dear Cynthia.
Yes.
But other than that, thank you for once again joining us in this extremely sensitive but necessary conversation.
Yeah.
So thank you for getting tipsy with us.
And for keeping it truthful.
Bye.
Bye.